Life Frew Music, brought to you by Zoomer.com and ZoomerRadio.ca.
All right, well, this should be interesting. Right? Shooting the shit with guys that I've been shooting the shit with for 40 years. Right? Right, we bought you a present.
So should we crack one of these?
Yeah.
Well, it's not the old triangle, but it'll do.
It's a warm-up.
Right? It's not a glass tiger
Can you
glass.
believe
but it's
the
a Guinness.
location of this studio to the old triangle?
Yeah. That's not a bad thing. It could be a bad thing.
I haven't had a beer in a week.
And what are you going to do with that?
Well, I'll toast you.
Is it a prop beer?
I'll toast you.
Sounds like it.
Right. Right, don't rush.
One of us will have to steal it off you.
Don't rush. How old were you when you tasted your first Guinness? I think I turned you on to Guinness.
I was 3.
I wasn't a fan at first, but I would say
it's an
that,
acquired taste.
yeah, 25. I said
And I
25.
acquired it.
I was 15
Mhm.
in Scotland when they bet me I couldn't drink a pint of Guinness. And I did. Right.
Cheers.
And my
All right.
Scottish settle a wee bit, but
Yeah, I know.
That's
It's falling
well,
still.
we'll do our cheers.
Falling
Okay,
slowly
we'll do
here.
cheers and we'll settle
Yeah.
down on the table.
And you're supposed to split the G. You know that, eh? Yeah. Your first sip, you're supposed to split the G.
Right. You told me that before.
The G spot.
I always thought it was the bottom of the heart, but now it's the marketing people have come up with split the G. And there's a funny glass where the G's down here.
Right, I'm going to see if I can split the G.
With the G. Well,
Is it
that's
ready. Mine's still settling.
Yeah, and it's not that hard because that's shy of a full
I'm a wee
20
bit.
ounce.
Yeah, I'm a wee bit above the top.
So, but when it's a proper top punt, it's a bit of a distance.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're here in beautiful Halifax, Nova Scotia, or New Scotland, as I like to say. But you were telling a wee story about your dad.
Well, every time I come to Halifax, my dad's from Grand Falls, Newfoundland, but he joined the Navy at age 19,
Right.
and they stationed him here. So he didn't see service overseas, but the naval, he was a stoker, which is the guy that shovels the coal in the boats, but he was stationed in Halifax. So I have a feeling he terrorized Halifax a little bit. He never told me those stories, but I get that vibe.
So a Newfoundland father
Yeah,
and an Irish
yeah. That's
mother.
a combo, yeah.
We'll talk a wee bit about how important they were to our rehearsals.
Mm.
And you've got Celtic background as well, correct?
Yeah. From Glasgow, basically. My father and my mother from Glasgow.
Oh, both your parents?
Yeah. But I have a stepfather now because when I was younger, my father passed away in a boating accident.
Oh, well.
Way back in 1961. And my mother and my father came over, plus her family, friends, sisters, brothers, came over around 1956, 57. And that was a big turning point for her, obviously, in our family, in our lives at that time.
So my first wee question would be, as you know, I talk a lot about how my dad used to throw these little impromptu Friday nights and Saturday nights in our wee house, and it would be a wee party, and all the drunk guys would come in from the pub. What was going on with the two of you when you were like little ones in a house? Was it musical for you, Sam? Or?
Well, no, my parents were music lovers, but they weren't. My mom sang in the kitchen.
Right.
So she was always singing. But it was more of a casual sing as you do your housework kind of stuff.
Right.
Less than let's sit down and give us a song kind of thing. But no, it was more, family TV, Lawrence Welk,
Right.
Tommy Hunter.
On a Sunday night.
Tommy Hunter. What's the Jubilee fiddler one that used to come in all the time, and Harry Hibbs.
Oh, I remember that name.
Harry Hibbs and something Jubilee. Anyways, it was a fiddler. Back when you had to get up and turn the dial on TV.
Did you go to them saying, I'm interested in learning the piano, or did they?
No, we had a console radio, which is basically a chunk of mahogany where, the radios and stereos were pieces of furniture, back in there. Would they have a turntable in it or whatever? Ours was a Blaupunk, German, and it had a big dial on it, and it had about, I don't know, a dozen different stations, one of them being shortwave. So as a kid, I just used to play with the dial and tune in things from Europe,
right?
Radio Luxembourg,
We had
all that kind of stuff.
We had a wee transistor radio, and
Same here.
you had to hold
Same
it
here.
up and try and get that signal.
Well,
and
this thing
Radio
was
Luxembourg.
a big console, but the speakers were on the lower portion of the console, and I would kind of fiddle with the dial, but then I would lay with my ear against the speaker, so my parents thought I had a hearing impediment. So they took no, that's true. I didn't sound like I'm making that up. But they took me to a doctor, and they said, nothing wrong with your son's hearing. He just doesn't want to listen to you. and the doctor said, I suggest music lessons. And that's how I got. Yeah.
Did you choose piano?
It was accordion. And no offense, because I'm playing accordion in the show right now. But I don't think I would have had the same future if it was just, unless you're Walter Ostertag or whatever.
Right.
But the piano was a better choice. And
Sure.
there was a lady that was getting rid of a piano, and it came for $75 or whatever. And so I ended up in the piano instead of accordion, and the rest is history.
And what about you in the Glaswegian?
Well,
in the Glaswegian household, was it musical at all?
it was very musical from the standpoint that my mother played piano, and she had grade 10 piano from actually over in Scotland when she was there. She brought that all over here with her. And I guess you could say all the aunts and uncles knew all the songs, but it wasn't like a Kaylee thing.
Right.
It was just that they knew if a song started, they could finish it, that kind of thing. I remember once actually recording because when you left Scotland to come over here, they would get together and they would all pitch in and sing a song on a tape. And so my aunt asked me if I could make this tape for when I'm listening to these songs I'd never heard, but I knew that everybody was singing along with them. Everybody had a piece. Everybody had a song, and they would sing and say, "I have a great time in Canada," and all this, and they'd sing their song.
Right.
And so I made this tape of it, and I realized that this is the way the street is in Scotland, because I never lived there to know that. But came over here, and then my mother had a piano, and like Sam had said, those big turntable furniture things with so many albums and things lying around, that her piano playing turned us all onto music. She had guitars. I don't know why she had guitars, but she had a guitar, an old Spanish guitar.
So I was going to ask you when and why the attraction to the guitar. Is it because
she loved the sound of the guitar, and it was sitting there, but like the strings were like 3 inches off the fretboard,
right?
And you picked it up and you played it as hard as you could. You got something out of it, and you just kept playing it. So I was probably 8 years old when I started doing that.
It's interesting. Like even just that you telling me that, like here we are, like 40 years later together. I used to stand outside the pubs and sing for all the old drunk men coming out to get pennies off them, and he's talking about piano lessons as a child, and you're picking up the guitars, and here we are. Like,
and when I did take lessons, I wanted to be showed the quick and easy way. And they would scratch it all down on paper, and I go, of course, okay, I got to take that home, because you had books that you could buy, but the Mel Bay books were the only ones,
right.
And they didn't teach you like they would today. And my sister, who's older, she was a hippie. She doesn't mind me saying that, I'm sure, but she was like the '60s child, and she had a Martin guitar that she bought. It was a little 3/4. Right, so I picked that up.
Is it still around today?
She has it somewhere.
Wow.
But I don't have. But it was called Sigma. Sigma is a part of Martin, and it's a 3/4 body. So I would always be caught sneaking into her room playing this guitar because it was so much better and so well made. So yeah.
You two have better memories. You save everything, but let's talk a wee bit about how we got together. Like my memory obviously is I'm in a band called Onyx, which is ahead of Sam's band in terms of
I'd heard of
age.
you before that. I heard of you when I was about 16 through a gentleman, Theo Henderson, who was your brother-in-law.
Right.
And he just talked about this guy that could sing so. He's like frickin' McCartney. And he would just say it. He would just come around, and we'd all be hanging around this park as kids in the summer. And I remember.
And were you in a wee band at that time or not?
I was flirting with music with people, and I would bring my guitar to the park that was probably right next to your future wife's house, right? And I was just figuring out things. It was that same Spanish piece of crap.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and it worked towards something better. You know, eventually it got to my first Dicetone, which is like a hummingbird, which is like a Gibson guitar, and it was inexpensive. And then my folks helped me get that. And then an SG, which was a Gibson electric, which would be worth a lot of money, but I don't have it anymore. It's like a 1970, 71 SG. So I was starting to work with people based on that in basements and stuff.
Well, and Sam, did you, before the band called The End, did you dabble with any other musicians and bands and stuff like that?
Yeah, we were never complete though. So I used to jam with Mike Stickwood because he drummed a little bit, but it'd just be me and keyboard and a drum. There was no bass player, there was no guitar player.
Right.
We didn't have one. And then every once in a while, you know, somebody would go, "Oh, I know a guitar player." So now the next rehearsal, we'd have a guitar player, but no bass player, and nobody would sing because I couldn't sing, and Mike's playing. So we were always an incomplete, but we would just jam whatever we could for whatever instruments were available at the time.
Yeah,
and then eventually you try to get
the style of music, right?
Yeah.
You all over the board. It could be Aerosmith, it could be this, it could be that.
And we were dabbling
Led
with like
Zeppelin,
it was more of a, some of it was like a jam.
Yeah.
I remember playing the keyboard, that first keyboard that my parents bought me, and if you distorted the amp, it sounded a little guitar-like. So if you played like a low note, it had a bit of grunge to it, and I think we were kind of faking it because there was no guitar. So, you know, it was playing bass, fuzzy bass lines but we were always missing players until later you kind of stick it out until somebody knows somebody.
Did you start on an acoustic piano at first with the band, or did you have a keyboard ready to go?
No, the acoustic piano
Or
only
organ?
For like the Royal Conservatory, which is the classical stuff.
But as a band thing, what did you play?
I had, my dad took me down to Cosmo and bought, it was a Roland digital piano, a cheap thing and that, which I would love to know whatever happened to that.
Yeah.
But
because
that was a portable one.
Yeah, I remember getting my first amp, and it was a Marshall. And I was so excited about that because there's this drummer, this band, you guys know I was in this band, it was called, first we called ourselves Spanish Fly. Why did we call ourselves Spanish? Then we called ourselves the Lowlifes. We had all these stupid names, and I didn't have the electric, so I'd use an acoustic. They had 2 strings or 3 strings, like the Dead Kennedys, that band.
Right.
And I could play rock and roll chords on it. So go dum 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 dum, you know, and up to 5 and back down, and that's what I play to his drums.
So
the drummer was like, "Okay, this is it. We got a band." Right?
So for the sake of the listeners, you know, so there's 2 bands. One was called Onyx, which again was ahead, just in time wise, was ahead of Sam's band, which was called The End. Did I contact you and say, or did you stumble into it? Like,
well, I'm trying to think how this could. There was a point where around Newmarket, the area, not so much where I think you guys are more Bradford based, but then you started coming down to Newmarket earlier than The End. We used to go to the same club, which would be a club that was in Newmarket, the Compass Tavern, or to Richmond Hill. People liked the city, but we had to do what we did, and there was all these great bands that came through. I know we got to play there, and you had played there as Onyx, but you guys were already out working on the road before the band that I started to play could even play a gig.
So again, you know, we started in a small town called Newmarket in Ontario, Canada.
So there was about it was just a very hard group to keep together that I was with. There was a lot of loose ends going on there, but we established a little bit of a thing in 1978, 79. And then there was a point where you had so many different players coming through your band that you had asked, because somebody had left at this time, I think it was Tony Meats was his name, a great guy at the time, said he was leaving. You were looking for another, you auditioned 6 or 7 people, keyboards, this, that, and the next thing. And then because everybody didn't want to commit, you said something to Wayne Parker. I think, why don't we get young Connelly to come in here and play?
Okay.
So I came in, and I was there for about the last 6 months of implosion. When it all imploded. When everything just collapsed, right? And there was.
Were you with the band when our crew ran over they hit a truck and killed the guy's prize pig?
I was around at that time, yes, and I do remember your brother-in-law saying that he had to get more money, because he drove from Newmarket to Barrie, and it was an icy road or something. He cut the guy off, and the guy was freaking because he had a big blue ribbon for his prize pig,
you know,
and
that
it was
story,
not
right?
intentional.
You know the story. It sounds like you've made that up, but it's actually not made up.
True. And he came back and he says, "Oh, I have to. This guy's. I got to pay for this. He's got to pay for this pig." Right.
We were at the venue waiting on the crew, and they were late, and because they'd killed some guy's prize pig.
Yeah, it sounds like that's a made up story, but it's not.
So you lot were more up in the Bradford area, right?
We didn't go. Yeah, we stayed very, very local, and I think the furthest that we would do is Barrie, Ontario, but not. We didn't go into Quebec.
Right.
You guys did that.
So
we were very, very centralized.
So you had Michael Hansen on drums, Jimmy Cooper on bass,
Mark Smye on guitar, and then Mark Bodway on guitar, and myself.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, and we did really well. We always said, big fish, small pond. We weren't. We didn't aggressively go after stuff in the city. Although we did do Toronto, we did like Young Station and places like that, which Gary Pring used to manage,
right?
Before. And at one point, I remember when I was really, really young, you guys, Onyx, meaning it's funny how the worlds would be like a 2 or 3 degrees of separation. Mm-hmm. Somebody from Onyx, you guys had a gig in like Niagara Falls, and your keyboard player couldn't go. And I was working at a gas station, and somebody talked to my dad and said, my dad said, "Oh, my son plays keyboard. Does he want to go to?" And my dad was like, "No, he's not going away with a bunch of older guys." But it's funny how that was only a degree of separation.
Right.
I might have been on a gig and showed up, and you guys were like, "Okay, what do you do?" kind of thing. But and then years later, we are connected. But
so I'm going to go back just a little bit before that, though, is to say that I know that working around that age of 17 and 18, trying to get into a band was really important. And I started to think about, I schooled in trying to get into studios. And I thought that was a good way to trade off to get some demos done and things like that, where you could write music and start to think about writing songs. You guys in Onyx were writing songs, and that was really admirable, because Still Awake and all of these songs that you had done were things that we looked as locally going, yeah, you can do that. It's like the Beatles coming out and doing it. We can all do that.
Right.
So there was a point where all of a sudden...
It wasn't a pure cover band.
There wasn't a pure cover band.
Yeah.
But Ned, there was a point where all of a sudden you said, this band is imploding. You did your last show, and I went back to this Low Life band, and you had me open the show.
And I think you bastard.
Wait a second. And then 2 years goes by. 2 years goes by, and Tokyo starts, and I did that show with them, right? And I was opening the show with the same band 2 years later. And then these guys were with me were just like terrors.
Yeah, they're maniacs.
And they did they did bad things, right? And it was like, okay, I cannot go through this. And I think I went up and apologized you at a party about 2 weeks later. I said, oh my God, I can't believe they did that, right? And that was the end of that band.
So our band, Onyx, implodes, and I decide that I'm done. I'm finished. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm going to be a doctor. That was what I kept telling myself. Ended up, being an orderly. And then your band, The End, picks up the slack a little bit, because I saw you a couple of times.
Yeah, we had a nice little window there.
At the Compass.
Onyx was kind of, locally, that we were probably at that time the biggest local band of who was left over.
Right.
And we had a pretty good following. A lot of the local newspapers, I have a lot of clippings. They were very supportive of the band, and anytime there was something new. So in that little town, we had at least a decent following. And we were, like Al was mentioning, similar to Onyx, similar to Low Lives. We were writing there was original songs too.
Right.
We were obviously covers, because you can't get a gig without doing covers. But it wasn't just, let's just play other people's music. Mm-hmm. It was very much, now I didn't write much back then, but but there was definitely a healthy dose of original material in the show.
What causes the impetus for, I guess maybe it was Hanson, but what causes the impetus to say, we want rid of this bass player and we're going to get this other bass player, which is Wayne Parker, the glass tiger.
Yeah.
And then I get brought in. What was the impetus?
Well, I
for
think that happened simultaneously because the end had reached the same end that Onyx did.
Pardon the pun.
Yeah. No, we were done for sure. Like we weren't happy. Our manager.
Yeah, you were
quit.
unhappy as well, right?
Yeah, but our manager quit, and then the guitar player quit, and then I just quit too. So it all imploded, and it was from that the call came in, and I don't know the connection. I was first to Wayne, and then I got a call saying, there's a bass player who comes along with a singer, kind of thing. Right. It was like, and then Wayne must have approached you. So the ashes from the two bands that forms Tokyo is basically like the remnants was enough to put a band together.
Yeah, I mean, just for the listeners and the viewers, your original drummer, Michael Hansen, was a kind of singing behind the drums.
Yeah,
and
it was never that comfortable.
And I've never been fond of that.
Yeah.
With all due respect to Phil Collins and all them. And
there's very few bands that people do except that.
Right?
Yeah.
And
I remember being excited because it was like, it felt like what a band, like when I was thinking of bands that I admired back then, and Genesis and Rush and Max Webster and stuff, the band had a certain makeup.
Right.
And that's what I wanted. So when we met Wayne and then you, it was like, wow, okay, there'd be a singer and a bass player and a guitar player. So it felt like what a rock band should be.
Right.
And that was, I think, the best.
Yeah, and I've always been attracted to the idea that somebody is that focal point that can do, that works a stage like yourself.
Symmetry to that.
Where you watch bands, I tend to the Mick Jaggers of the world, the
and
Freddie
again,
Mercurys of the world.
Finally, so we've got Hanson on drums, we've got Sam on keyboards, Wayne on bass, I'm singing, but there were two other guitar players at the time.
That's right.
Martin Samai.
We did. And they were kind of lingering left over from the remnants of the other bands, but they didn't really settle into the new model. And
I think I contact you again.
Yeah. Well, that's when Wayne comes by and he's driving his car. He's working at a car lot selling Porsches. Yeah. And he pulls up with the sunglasses and, hey, want to join a band? Yeah. And it was like the beard and the whole bit. I'm going, man, you're cool. Yeah, when are you guys rehearsing?
You already looked like you had $1 million in the bank.
Exactly.
So there we go. And we call ourselves Tokyo. Now, one of my fondest memories that I love to tell is just how gracious your parents were. Everything for our rehearsals.
Well,
they gave up their house.
I mean, I was very fortunate that way. Obviously, they gave me piano lessons and that. But, being a parent now, when kids go through that teenage years, the best thing you can hope for as a parent is that they get involved in something that is safe, legal, all that kind of thing. And so I think they were excited that it was music based and that they obviously saw that I was committed to it. And it was safe. I mean, they got to meet everybody and they were quite happy to see that I was busy in the basement. They knew where I was.
And before that, we couldn't afford any places. We were chased out of places. In fact, one of the places was above a funeral home that we had to rehearse in. It was like, is this right? Is this the right thing to be doing?
You had to, so your parents are sitting, so everybody knows.
It's a tiny house.
They were so
we're in a tiny house.
Yeah.
Parents are on the main floor. We're in the basement.
Yeah.
We're lifting the living room ceiling, or the living room floor, the basement ceiling. And you wired your parents up with like little headphones.
Well, their biggest complaint is they couldn't hear the news, the 6 o'clock news or whatever. So I was handy enough with a soldering iron, and I merged two sets of headphones, tied it into the TV somehow.
And it's funny how that goes full circle, right? They had the big headphones on, and everybody has earbuds today. Now it's going back to big headphones again.
Right.
But that enabled them to hear the TV while that was going on.
And am I exaggerating? I think they had little trays in their lap, but it had like sticky plastic on it.
Yeah, because things would vibrate across the table, like honestly, I think of the commitment, and I think, again, being a parent, I mean, you do anything for your kids and that, but that's a big ask, like to have that going on at all times. And the other thing too, of course, nobody had any money. So the amount of cups of tea and grilled cheese sandwiches that were made around that time was pretty staggering too, but honestly, I think
digs into the family budget.
I think they loved it. I think because again, I'm their son. They knew I was doing something, I don't think they ever thought it would turn in. I mean, they never told me that it wouldn't, or I never got that conversation like, get a real job, The only condition my parents had is that I didn't let my school grades fall apart. Like you can do the music, you can do the band stuff, as long as you maintain your school stuff. Like get your diploma or whatever, which was kind of a condition of that. But I think they were thrilled to see. And as it got bigger, and then of course, the pinnacle with that is when we opened for Journey after the album comes out, and we're in 17,000 people, and my mom and dad are standing there.
Yeah.
And
like my parents, they come down to Ontario Place and see
and I think
and they
remember
remember everything about those shows.
Yeah.
My old dad lived my mother never came, but my dad lived vicariously. But I'm going to tell a wee story that really takes. I'm going to jump ahead, but it's really about coming back to the early days. Follow me in this. I'm in an airport, and you're getting hassled on whatever the fuck is going down, and I've got no idea, but I'm getting a wee bit more recognized by the passport guys, so I think I'll step in and help. And
right.
Meanwhile, the passport guy's saying, you're going to end up in this office, and I go, anything I can help with? And he says to me, are you with him? And I say, yeah. And he goes, well, you come to it. And it's because you get busted when you were how old were you? You got busted for a joint or something.
Okay, I remember that particularly because we were heading down to the States and we were going on a tour with, oh my God, it was like 1988 or something like that. And there was an English crew involved with that tour that were pulled in the office beforehand. They thought they were with me. So they started to take them, and they were walking out of the office, and they're going, we don't know him. We don't bloody well know him. And they kept going. So that was the same day that you came in.
So you got busted. How old were you?
Okay, going back to when that happened, there was a time in Ontario when they thought that they would just be able to give you a ticket or something, and you could show up or pay the fine. And they stopped this whole program. It lasted like 2 years back in 1978 or 79. So I was 17 years old, and I got this ticket, and I paid it without any lawyer or anything like that, right? I come up, and so now I have a record I don't even know I have. So years later, when we started to go across the border and go into America, I had to deal with, the proper authorities and lawyers who get this together. It costs a lot of money. But every time I go, Gary Pring, our manager back then, would say, Bud, if you go down there, you might not be able to come back when they come back for. You might have to stay down there because it's such a hassle to get you through. Because every time I went, they gave me the hardest time. When you think about
how ridiculous
it was,
that is in today's standards.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you feel now where you could just cross the street?
Well,
and buy?
And so that was just a terrible. There's so many stories relating to this. I could go on and on, but that one was particularly funny because I remember you trying to. And you were gracious to them. And the guy who knows me, he's seen me in there 3 times already, right? Going back and forth this stage. And you said, it's got to be really ridiculous. And he goes, you see that clock up there, Mr. Frew?
Yeah.
We don't care about the time in here. You can talk all day if you want. That was the end of it. Al, I'm kicking you under the table. Yeah. Please, don't say anymore.
Yeah, he said, we don't worry about planes taking off.
It's such ridiculous.
And then you know what they did? When they finally let us go, they timed it so that we'd have like a minute to get to the, and then they watched us run, and they were all laughing.
It's so ridiculous.
Laughing their heads off.
So I mean, in the end, I've had some others. I've had a gentleman from I guess it was New York City. He was Italian, and he couldn't speak English. And the guy that was there, the customs guy is going, just give me the first words of the, Pledge of Allegiance to the United States. That's all I want to hear. And I'm going, please, I'll give you the line, right? Because trying to get across the border here.
So, for any young musicians listening in or looking in today, I haven't a clue how they manage. I guess they break themselves online and TikTok and all this stuff. But the bar scene in our day was so vibrant,
incredible.
Right? What's
and the scene was also the high schools, the colleges, the universities.
Yeah.
They were so on board with music back then. Right.
Those, I mean,
I'm not saying all of them aren't, but
yeah, because I was the younger in the band, I kind of went through my high school while the band was clicking along.
Right.
So, I mean, I remember playing. The Students' Council would hire a band once a year, and it would be our band. I mean, the End played Newmarket, Huron Heights, Stouffville, all those high schools. We were the band that played their big school dances every year. And we used to get a letter from the school board because we had great nights because we had a lot of local following. And we would pack it. And the Students' Council, we used to bring a letter and they would say, we had the End. They were a great band. We had a very successful event. And we would use that letter to get the next schools. We'd send that to the school board and we'd get booked. So high schools was a very healthy circuit. I know Onyx played a bunch of some high schools. We did a lot in high schools. Our manager was a school teacher too. I think that helped.
One of the things I love, and we've all met various famous musicians, and it doesn't matter whether it's, Paul McCartney right up here, right through Cheap Trick and Bono and all these. When we meet them, we bond, right? Because it doesn't matter whether one's a billionaire and sold 200 million records. We bond because we all did this shit. We they know the stories, and whether it's the Beatles in Hamburg or U2 in Dublin, Ireland. You know what I'm talking about? Remember meeting Cheap Trick one time?
Oh, yeah. We were in Switzerland.
We're so bonded.
My first Kentucky bourbon was, from, the boys in Cheap Trick at the end of the bar. I don't know what we were doing there. We were promoting something or playing something in Switzerland. And
we did the Montreal Festival.
Robin Zander says, "Try this, son." I go, "Hey, whoa!" And it was like that was the bonding moment, It was really I've seen them since back in Ontario or wherever. They remember. They remember all the shows, right?
I always found it strange that all of that exists because it's a very localized, especially for the End, a little wider for Onyx. But those years of paying your dues is still a very under the radar localized thing. Like the rest of the country wouldn't know that. And then when the band actually gets signed, a lot of people don't realize the years prior to that.
Right.
And I remember being a little, what's the word? I mean, I remember being like, I felt like I needed to defend
because
our background.
We got kind of labeled like a flash in the pan, like we just came out of nowhere.
And somebody even went so far as to say, "Oh, did Capitol Records put this together?" Like the Monkees.
Right.
They put that together. I was like, not a chance. I mean, if you add up all of those clubs,
they don't know the part where they passed on us and then they came back.
Right. But I always felt like I always wanted to defend that because there is no way it got handed to us.
No.
Tell me I'm not making this shit up. A magazine called Graffiti Magazine comes out and posts a picture of us, and we're all bald.
Yeah,
and we've got swastikas on our foreheads.
I know.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know.
And then the band goes like this, and now they want to backtrack. And I'll never forget, we were headlining at Ontario Place, and I came in and they introduced me to the lady that was the editor-in-chief, and I had her backstage pass removed. And I said, "You're not fucking getting a story from us. Get out," because you can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
Like we got some troubled times.
I'd love to know whatever happened to that
first...
copy of that, because I do remember seeing it once real quick, and I went, "What the?"
Yeah.
And it was just like, and it did feel bad. It didn't feel good.
What do you think causes that? Was it the speed with which we?
I think the fact that when Thin Red Line, the album, got released, and then Don't Forget Me screams up the charts, I think the impact of the acceleration of that, then now the nation does know about you, right? So all of those Onyx days, all the End days, all those clubs, all that stuff, they're not aware of any of that. So all they see is a band's not there, and now they're there. I think I understand why that looks like it come out of nowhere, But of course, for us, it didn't feel like it came out of nowhere.
And of course,
then it wasn't out of nowhere, because if you went through those 5,000 dates that we did before that, or whatever it was, we were in places that were getting more packed and crowded all the time. We never played to an empty room because we played music that was relative to what people wanted to do, which was have fun.
in the bar days, all the owners cared about in the bars was doing covers. You know, Simple Minds, Tears for Fears, and we got kind of, once we packed the bars, we snuck a few of our originals in.
I think I don't know whose idea it was to remove one of the most common things for a band who's writing some originals is they play all these great covers, and then at some point in the show, because they're so proud of what they're about to do, they stop the show and say, and now we're going to do one of our own.
Right.
Total buzzkiller. And the bar owner goes, what?
Yeah.
You know, and of course, but you've killed your like,
there's the red flag.
And I always thought it was clever. I don't know whose idea it was, but it was very clever that the dance floor is full and you segue right into a song and it stays full.
Right.
And then people come out and go, you know that song Thin Red Line? You used to say, here's a song called Thin Red Line from a band from England.
Mm-hmm.
And people wouldn't know it was ours, but then the dance floor stays full and it was great. And the bar owner is unaware, because they didn't, they don't see people going back to their seat and waiting for you to finish your original,
Talk a little bit about now, we're packing the bars, the record companies come, and we end up with Capitol Records.
And Jim
then
Valance.
I remember the second in command, and I think you remember this, Sam, Tim Trombley saying, "Get ready, boys."
Yeah.
This is like, it's going to be a tsunami. And talk a little bit about your memories of, the train taking off, and it becomes a runaway train. And
I remember Tim saying, hold on to your hat, your life's about to change. I can remember saying that directly. And, and
they saw something that they know is a trademark of that.
Well, they know when something is clicking. I think they see that we didn't know because we've never done it before. Mm-hmm. But I do have a feeling that it's like somebody giving you prior warning for a tsunami, and you get an inside scoop on that. I don't know that that was, you just go with it. I mean, I remember at some point when we were 17 months on the road, I can remember my mother saying to me, I didn't realize the piano lessons were going to turn into this. And she didn't mean that in necessarily 100% positive. I think she saw us getting, me getting tired, and it's just like, I didn't think she didn't think the piano lessons through to the point where what we were doing was a reflection of what that was going to turn into. But
I think at one point, after all these tours that we started to do, which we did a lot of, and we were away from home a lot, I do recall my parents saying to me, "We thought you'd be living in Los Angeles by now."
Yeah,
because you just seem to be there all the time.
And I'll tell you,
we did go south a lot.
My mom, when we would come home for a day, I'd go in, still living at home, and my mom, little Irish lady, I don't think I knew how much what we were doing was changing. Because when you're 20 and you're getting all that at you, you can't not change you, right? There's a lot of, girls were interested in it. The band was a calling card for all that. And whatever, I wasn't aware that my attitude changed or anything like that, or getting cocky. But your parents know you so well, right? And I remember my mom, I'd be home for a day, and she's always in the garden, and she would say, yeah, and I'd be blabbing on about this and whatever. She'd go, yeah, that's great. Can I show you these raspberries? They're coming up over here. Yeah. And I know what she was doing, right? Yeah. She's disarming the road stuff.
The road talk that we talk.
Right, right. And she's like kind of grounding, grounding.
Do you think we suffered a bit? I mean, when we first took off, it was...
I don't think anybody's going to feel sorry for us.
No, but
I don't feel
what I
sorry
mean
for
is, more so from the media, like it was screaming girls and teenage girls everywhere. Guys didn't find us cool because it wasn't cool to like the band that your girlfriend falls in love with. And it took a long time before men finally started saying, I did like your band back then, but it just wasn't cool to like you.
Right.
Do you think because it was that teeny thing at first, that the actual substance of the band as songwriters, we were kind of overlooked. And
we grew up, like, if you think of the early songs that we wrote, Ancient Evenings, Thin Red Line, Vanishing Tribe, like, writing-wise, we were on a completely different path.
right.
Very progressive. I mean, we were listening to all the, and then of course the fact that we popped out to Vancouver and come up with the two poppiest things in the world, it did that. Of course, it did the soaring, but it really undermined. It took the tension away from the songs like Thin Red Line, Vanishing Tribe, which Ancient Evenings is still one of my favorite songs, and I love the fact that we did that. But we had a lot of songs that have credibility that aren't just pure pop, but it certainly, when you get such a massive pop hit, it does take the attention away.
Well, it shows when you play that song last in the set and what happens to the audience when they hear it. And if you remember back to those days, 1986, 88, 89, the shrill on your ears. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Right. Getting to the bus and back and trying to maneuver to things was just, I've never heard anything like it. But that would be other people going, yeah. Like, just suck it up, will you?
And so I presume you are aware that, we go to Vancouver and we write these two songs on the one day with Jim Valance. The very first day we're with him, we write Someday and Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone. And I don't think we even appreciated enough ourselves how not only were they massive hits, but to write them on the first day, the same day, blah, blah, blah. And those two songs go on to win Single of the Year, the Juno Award Single of the Year, back to back, a year apart from the same album, had never, ever been done before.
No.
It has been done since, but never been done before.
And
pretty massive.
And there's also Juno for most popular group.
Yeah, we won most popular group and we won album of the year, but just the level of, the power in those two singles that carried.
I feel like we delivered what we were asked to deliver. I mean, the album was ready to go, and Dean said, "Just give us another couple. We're going to send you out to write with Jim," and we were tasked with that. And I think, in fairness to our, Jim is a great catalyst and he's a very fair guy to write with, but the chemistry was right, obviously, because the spark went off. And to come up with those two songs, we didn't really write a lot of material like that, but we were in the moment. And those are the two songs that came out.
If I could add to that, and this is what you're going back quite a few years, but when it first came out, there wasn't a lot of songs that sounded like them, which really is interesting because I think your vocal is unique, but there's also some people who go, what a singer. And then you hear a lot of, I would say, 80s sounding music at that time, 1986. And I hear today, I hear Don't Forget Me with the Horns, Someday, as this classy thing. There's a certain class element that was different from certain songs at that time that makes it stand out.
Yeah, I think a combination of...
I'm just reflecting on
stylistically
40
how
years
we
later.
played and the fact that I am from Scotland and whatnot. It kind of separated us a little bit from what was going on for the standard 80s stuff, certainly coming out of Canada and in many respects even North America. And I think it gave us a bit of a unique...
Oh, for sure.
There was a lot of big sample stuff back then. There was a lot of, chorusy guitars that had, really compressed sounds like the fix, bing in your face. We didn't really have that sound. We did a little bit of it, but we had something a little different too. There.
Before, I'm going to segue and change topic for a minute, but one fun wee question I'd love to ask you both would be, we got into a position where we became sort of famous enough to meet really famous people. Who did you ever meet any of your heroes, or what would be a great wee tale? Who did you run into that it was a...
Well, I mean, I would think because they were collected in one spot. I mean, when we went to the Grammys, because there's so many of them there, standing there and chatting with Peter Gabriel, and Roger Daltrey, and they're talking to you like, so did you have a good day? Yeah, whatever. Like, there's no fuss, there's no nothing. Paul Simon going, hey, Paul, how you doing? And then the commercial break. And you step back, you do an out-of-body experience and go, that's Paul Simon.
Right.
It's kind of like, I remember that being the most collected, like, oh my God moment. and then people along the way that we toured with, Tina, of course, Journey. I mean, those were bands that I can remember us. And I don't think until that tour was over, how special that tour was, when night after night we'd hear that opening line and you go, we're really doing this, like we're guests on this tour.
Mm-hmm.
This is not small. Like Tina's tour is like
It was massive.
huge.
All of the people that we saw when we seen the tours, the Tina was like a collection of great players that were from all over Europe or the UK. And then you just went, I mean, she was pretty amazing, obviously, but even the players, and you go to Journey and you watch them every night. I had more of an appreciation. That's how I do. I get more involved every night when you're watching night after night what they do. Marie Perre, right, in Roxette, I really appreciated her voice. Every 3 or 4 weeks, the third, fourth week into it, you would be just like, wow, they do this every night. Your appreciation factor goes up.
Yeah.
Fabulous
Your
moment
respect.
for me, obviously. I know you know who it is, but was getting taken in to meet Paul McCartney.
Right.
But it wasn't just the getting to meet him. What really impressed me, that impressed upon me, was when they introduced me to him and he shook my hand for the first time. Paul went, "All right, mate, don't forget me when I'm gone." And that's when it dawned on me that it doesn't matter whether you're Paul McCartney, Elton John, Queen, whatever you're doing. You're watching the charts.
He knows.
And McCartney knew at that time who Glass Tiger was, what Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone was all
It's
about.
like Steve Perry telling one of his favorite songs was Someday. He goes, I love that song.
Right.
And I mean, Diane Warren, I met Diane Warren not that long ago. Right away, as soon as she heard Glass, she goes, Someday.
Right.
So that's massive,
we were in A&M Studios in Los Angeles, and I rushed to the studio because somebody told me, maybe Ed Delaney, that you got to come down here because Jeff Beck's in the studio. And Tom Warman's in the hall, who's our so-called producer on this, and he's talking to John Bon Jovi, and I'm going, did I miss him? I miss him. And he goes, Al, this is John Bon Jovi. Oh, hi, John. Did I miss Jeff Beck? yeah, he was really good. Oh, nice to meet you. But I was like really focused. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
I wanted to see that.
And Crowded House guys, they were great. Hanging out with those guys. Huh?
Right. So we'll change topic for a wee bit. So I penned this wee tune. I called it Canada's Song, Free to Be, whatever it is. I launched it yesterday, and it's got momentum, and we've talked about bringing it into the show. I wrote it as an homage to Canada. I didn't write it from a political standpoint. I didn't write it thinking that Canada doesn't have any problems. We don't have violence or crime or poverty or political discourse or elitists, etc. It had nothing to do with that. I wrote it as an homage to the beauty of this country and every nook and cranny that we've been in, and we still are free to be ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a little lay of the land on, Sam, what do you think, not just in Canada, but how do you see the world today? What's going on around us from Sam Reid's perspective?
Well, certainly, obviously, there's a surge of nationalism because of that, but it's always been there. It's not a new thing. I have always felt that when we would leave Canada and we would tour with Tina through Germany and through all these places, I always felt there was always a Canadian flag on our back in the U.S. and that. And, it was a good feeling to represent your home country that you love. It's almost like an athlete going to the Olympics and they're competing. There's a reason why that's such a great competition, and that it's because of the love you have of your homeland. And I always felt that because we got to tour internationally, that we've always, kind of represent a little sliver of Canada. And we were always never shy about telling people, where we're from. And I think that song dovetails into that. We've had 40 years of traversing Canada back and forth, and it doesn't get old. I mean, I can see, the Rocky Mountains and Labrador another 10,000 times and never get tired of seeing that. And so, I just think that's worth standing up for. It's there's nothing wrong with saying that makes you feel good. And there's a reason why, backpackers from other nations sew Canadian flags to their backpacks. It's because Canadians are loved around the world, because we're known for politeness, humor, compassion, and that's great. I mean, why would you want to be from somewhere else when you have all that going for you?
Al?
Usually when somebody says
Sorry.
as much like that,
I went on.
I agree with that.
No, but I mean,
I had a funny conversation.
How are you feeling about what's going on in the
Well, I had a funny conversation. I don't think Canada's broken. I don't think that. I had a funny conversation the other day, and it was like, I was talking to my mother, who's 92 years old, and I'm just mentioning things that she's coming out, and she's followed things of this country since I was a baby, born here. I was born in Chambly. We came from Quebec. We ended up in Ontario, and she was so upset by what was going on with the idea of us becoming the 51st state. That was a big deal to her, to the point where she started talking about grabbing a rifle and going down to the border.
At 92.
At 92.
And
I said, I'll stand
Canada,
there.
right?
If nobody wants to do it, I will stand. She's Scottish, right? I'll stand there. I'll hold a gun. Give me a gun. I'll go down there. And that was just her way of her passion. And I feel the same way about a lot of what our country is about. The artists we have are amazing. Can you say we're culturally Canadian? Yes. When Neil Young sings about, being up in Blind River, or, you have, Tom Cochrane talks about the big league, or somebody talks about in a song like about a river in Saskatchewan, like Joni Mitchell. These are things, or Gord Downey, talks about things, and is in your song. It's the love of the land. It's the love of what we know the people to be. There is culture here, and we are proud of it.
I know there's certain artists that will, carry the flag for a political point of view. Do you think most musicians, like I've already stated that I prefer this wee song to be apolitical, non-political, whatever phrase you want to use, only because it was written for the love of Canada, and I want it to be embraced by everyone. But still, you'll get your detractors. Now, one of the reasons we're free, somebody can come on and has done. They'll say, the song sucks. I don't like it. Fair enough, right?
I will remove that comment. Just kidding.
But I mean, one person wrote, I used to like Glass Tiger, but what they're doing is they're letting their own political views come in, right? I used to like Glass Tiger. Don't you remember the lockdown we were under COVID, and now we're communists?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh fuck
I'm
off.
trying to connect the two. That's hard for me to connect. But people do feel that way, right?
Do you think sometimes as musicians and creators that are we a little naive about?
Well, I think the rise in being patriotic is unlike, we're quiet about it, and now recently, of course, with the recent turn of events, we're louder about, and people aren't used to that. They're not used to us making any noise about it. So I think the song makes some noise, but other people are making noise. Look at Mike Myers having the shirt on SNL. Yeah. I mean, that's Canadians making
elbows
noise, which
up,
we're not known for.
But I we just recently came back from Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A predominantly American audience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was a wee love-in like any Canadian audience.
The people are great people.
We've spent countless months on end. I mean, I pretty much lived in Los Angeles for a year doing a solo album. The love that we've shared with American fans and friends and whatnot.
It's a beautiful country in many places.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, in many ways.
And it doesn't offend me when they sing about it either, their own country, nor does it ours.
I feel there's a kind of elitist thing going on behind the scenes that's above all our pay scales, and they're the ones trying to direct the traffic. But I think,
I think there's a certain word, kind of diplomacy, that's been thrown out of the window. That's the problem, and it's feeding off of people coming out, as you said, maybe the lockdown, where they've just got so into being so biased about this. I think you have to question. Yeah, people have to question everything. Sure,
I saw a funny comment.
Fine.
Someone posted, "Did you hear that Saudi Arabia has decided they want to buy America. You know,
Yeah,
just
right,
right. This, but I mean, imagine if I was an American and I was told something like that was happening.
Yeah, they lose their, they lose their shit.
We'd lose our minds
Yeah,
as
yeah,
Americans.
yeah.
So as
I like when
Canadian-
they did the Gulf of Mexico and then someone put Gulf of Canada.
you know, and hey, if you want to call it the Gulf of America, by all means.
Gulf of
Whatever.
Telecaster.
You know,
all
like-
the other ones.
Yeah.
But I just wonder, you know,
Unusual times. Like I said,
if the
Canadians
strings
are
are
very
being
quiet.
pulled by people
Yeah.
way above all our pay scales,
Yeah.
as opposed to people who just love.
All
and
I know
embrace.
is that it's never out of character or wrong to say you love the country you live in when you love the country you live in.
Yeah, exactly.
So
and you
it's
feel you
never
have
a
your
wrong
own
thing
identity.
to say it.
Yeah.
You're not saying that yours isn't good either. You're just saying
Not
I
at
love the
all.
one I'm in.
Not at all.
That's it. End of story. Now that shouldn't be offensive to anyone.
And as my Scottish mother would say at 92, she'd go, now that we solved all the world's problems.
My granny used to say, now I'll need to translate for you, but my granny used to say, it's a sair fecht, which means it's a tough fight. It's a sair fecht. And then she would always end it, it's a tough fight as long as you don't weaken, right? You'll get through it.
My mom would say, "Can I make you a cup of tea?"
Right. All right. So I'm singing outside pubs at 4 and 5 years of age. You're learning the piano at the same. You're doing the guitar, and we're just a few weeks away now from getting inducted into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. How do you feel?
I feel, well, obviously it's a huge. I guess I'm surprised when it did happen, how we found out. I kind of went, oh, well, maybe something that'll happen when you're walking along with a cane or in a wheelchair or something like that. But it is such an honor to be even, be able to be amongst the people that we are going to be amongst, which from a Canadian standpoint means that we will be putting a plaque on a wall and have this Juno for being there. I couldn't be more happy about where I guess our families, as we talk about our families, see this and what they think of that, because I know they're really proud of us. Just, I'm sure your family is proud, right? That everything that we worked for is coming around kind of full circle here. It's a big day. It's a big day.
Tommy?
Well, how could you not be proud? I mean, I've got 5 Junos sitting on the shelf at home, and I look at them, I pass them, they're there every day. But it's kind of acknowledgement that, okay, well, we've spent an entire lifetime doing what we're doing. The 10,000 hours have come and gone, and we're still touring. And that's the other thing I like about this is that we're still a functional band that's still crossing the country, and we get to do the Hall of Fame thing.
And here's the secret right here.
Yeah.
Weddings, funerals, graduations, birthdays.
Yeah. All the sacrifices. Right?
You and I are very similar in a way. On the morning my father died, I was doing a concert that night because he had told me before he passed away, you get your arse up there and you do that show. We lost your dad. Before we know it, we're shooting a video.
Yeah, and then
we're
leaving
on
for
our way to
Europe the next
Germany.
day. Yeah,
Those were very poignant times. I know that when we were playing together, what you both had gone through, to be there, and I never felt, there's that general love. When you talk about music, what is in the music and how a song could really take you another direction. When we did My Town, for example, and I believe it was up in Thunder Bay.
Yeah,
or
it was.
Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah, it was Thunder Bay.
We were out, I think, in Winnipeg, maybe Thunder Bay.
Yeah.
And just the music just changes all of a sudden because we're part of something that was part of your family, was part of your father's.
I can't
before.
imagine the opposite to like, oh, your dad just died, so cancel everything in your life.
Right.
Like, I can't imagine how bad that would make me feel and how good it makes you feel. Like, we're close enough now through all that, is that, the best thing you can do if you truly love the person that's gone is to honor the wish. And
Exactly.
You'd be a failure otherwise. My dad would be like, are you kidding me? Your dad was the same. You kidding me? You're going to cancel that? You're going to go and do what you do. And so it becomes, it's tough. It's really tough.
My folks are trying to figure out a way out west.
Yeah,
we were looking at the train. It's going to be 3 days. We don't know if we can do it. Would you mind if we don't? I said, well, quite honestly, I would love for them to be there, but you'd have to just transport them in the transporter room and put them right there. It would be so much work for them to come out for that night in Calgary.
I think our family, for the Hall of Fame event, and I know our families are aware of it, of course, but at the end of the day, I think they... they're as proud as we are. I mean, I know that my family, my kids, and whatever. Yeah. It's a big deal. It's a big deal for everyone in the family. They've seen, as you used to say, how many times have you seen us go out that door?
Right.
And that means a lot to them.
And with all due respect to our beloved fans, who without them we don't exist.
We're not here. Yeah.
I'm sure they don't realize the depth sometimes of which we've put ourselves through, missing a son or daughter's graduation, or a birthday party, or a wedding of a dear friend, or a funeral of a dear friend, or a family member. So I see this Hall of Fame as a real true legacy of what our families have been through with us.
I'm sure like Dan Hill will be there that night. He's feeling exactly the same way.
Yeah.
And Lorena McKenna, and about the sacrifices and what they've done in their lives too. It'll be nice to talk to them and share that as well.
Right. Without sounding like cynical old farts, give me your 2-minute impression of what the music scene is today. What do you understand about it? What do you not understand about it? Any fears of this whole AI thing? What is a record deal?
Yeah, I don't know. All I know, I think for me, the common denominator is I know when I hear something, if it moves me, and that's never changed. And styles, and I like a bunch of different styles. So I can like a Dia Lupa song and go, oh, I get it. That's catchy. It's a good pop thing. Now, maybe my genre that I know, I would never write something like that. But, we went in Calgary to see the band Future Islands. And it's like, I love hearing, new music, but I really don't measure that against, is it young or old, or it's on a record or whatever. It's just, I either like it or I don't like it. And you're either good at what you do. The AI thing is a bit scary.
Would you say it's still about the song?
100%. For me, it is. I don't care the vehicle. If it's not a vinyl, it's not a CD, and now it's digital and whatever. I don't care how it comes to me. It's either I like it or I don't. And there's a lot of stuff I don't like, that I don't understand. I just feel that, and this sort of segues into the AI stuff, because I have a production background now because of the band stuff, and having worked with somebody that sings like yourself, I feel that the sterilization, especially of a vocal, because the technology can do it, that if you were to take Neil Young's vocal, which is out of tune, and tune it, you think that would be better. It isn't going to be better.
Right.
You just stripped all the character out of that. So I'm fearful that everything I hear now is ultra sterilized. Instead of it being, it needs to have these little bumps and things like that. It needs to be good and not out of tune intentionally. But if you just put it through, that perfection meter thing, then you've sterilized it, which I think is a shame.
What do you think is going on around us today, Al, in the music scene?
I guess AI is a big conversation for a lot of people. Obviously, whatever that farms out would be just farming out stuff. To me, it sounds very, very homogenized, I guess you could say. We always talk about that anyways when we go into, an airport or somewhere, and you go into, somebody gets a new coat on or something in a store, you're hearing it all around you all the time. And oddly enough, it really gets back to, again, what is fresh, new, what you can go see live, and what makes you feel good and makes you feel emotion, or makes you feel a tear, or makes you feel, that this is a real deal. Like you're getting talent in front of you. Why would you throw talent away for something that's sterile, that's just being thrown through numbers and zeros and ones and whatever else?
What's your take on the idea that, like I hear, like record companies now want these 360 deals, and they want the young kids to do their work for them, and then basically it boils down to So what's your numbers?
I think that's bullshit.
What's your numbers on social media?
Yeah, I think that's bullshit.
Right.
I think that they're missing the point in a lot of that, because really it takes a lot to get, like Sam said earlier, you have to break the silence somehow. You got to get through, be a disturber, if you will, that gets out there. Sometimes people do crazy things to get noticed, but are they that talented, or is it just a shtick, right? Whatever it is they're putting out there. But I got to say that there's a lot of great talent that's got a hard fight without anybody to help them develop. I don't know if develop is taken the right way today, but in the sense where, you haven't found your demographic, your niche yet. Let us help you develop your niche, your demographic. We can hear it. Right?
I'm not wrong in saying that
You're
within the last
just out there.
10 years, there's a few young artists that, came on the scene through their social numbers and whatnot.
Yeah.
And they've vanished already, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, and I mean, it's just there's a lot of noise. Cutting through that noise is a challenge, but it's always been a challenge to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
I think the vehicle has changed, but again, I still believe
Same challenges
in
that
the
we
song.
had.
It's the same challenges, but it's just dressed in different clothing.
Right.
The same challenge, and I'll tell you, when you get the one thing stock and trade that you cannot fake is playing to now Prone Right and Charlie. I mean, you get an audience and you're looking down, you can't fake that.
Yeah.
I mean,
You broke the wall.
yeah,
Right now it's just
that's
a
it.
wall.
That doesn't
The
get any
fourth
more
wall.
real than that. And thankfully, we still have that going on.
Okay.
Because that keeps you grounded.
Winding it down, I never lose sight of the fact how touching it can be when someone comes to me, and I'm sure you're the same, when someone comes and tells us how profound a particular song has been in their life. It was played at my dad's funeral the other night. A girl was telling me that her dad's terminal, and he loves 2 or 3 of her songs, and he plays them all the time. So I'm going to ask you almost to take sort of your musician's hat off for a second and just come at it from a human standpoint. And it's not just about our music. What does music really, really, really mean to Sam Reid?
Wow, that's a pretty big question.
It's a big question.
It's a big question.
Philosophically,
Well,
esoterically.
I have music that I listen to because I appreciate it. I have music listen to that I find inspiring to write music. Like when we wrote Don't Forget Me and Someday, writing with Jim Valance, there's a reason why he said, what are you guys listening to right now? And we're like, wow, Tears for Fears is great and whatever. Great. Let's have let's get that in your head. Obviously, there's something that resonates in that music that you enjoy. So I find that music, for the most part, the stuff I listen to, and it can cross a lot of different styles. It's got to have something in there that kind of speaks to me through whatever levels. And that could change. I tomorrow I could I'll put it down and whatever. So, but I think that's the great thing. That's the great thing. You don't have to be stuck in a decade or whatever like that. I still put a Sinatra song on, and I've heard it a million times.
Does it transport you to a time when...
There's a comfort factor.
Right.
I find that if I listen to a certain song and I haven't heard it in a long time, and I think this is what some fans I've heard them say, is it will transport them back, especially if it's one of our songs that maybe was when they were in high school or something. So there is a familiarity with that where it does bring them back to that moment in their life where all these other things are going on, and it's a comfort. It's, my mother-in-law just recently passed away, and she used to sing a lot of Patsy Cline. So my wife is got Patsy Cline on in the house. That's because it tugs at the heartstring, and it reminds her how special that was, that music. So that has a calming effect, So there's a different purpose, for to listen to music in a different
Music
level.
for the occasions.
Yeah,
And there are a
that's
lot of
good.
occasions.
So what does it mean to
Yeah.
y'all? Is it
Well,
from
I
a
mean,
human,
all those things.
from a
it's-
human standpoint? What does it mean?
Well, it is from all those things. Basically, the harmony, the arrangement, the something haunting, maybe something that is shocking, like it's disturbing. I can go to Frank Sinatra, but I can also go to Irish music, and I can go and hear Audio Slave and something that's a little heavier. I can go into blues. I can get into the Deep South, and I can hear really radical guitar players like Jeff Beck or Tommy Emmanuel, who's just the most simply one of the finest acoustic guitar players on the planet, and then go. So but it has, over the years, I've had a love for so many different styles. It's usually just whoever put it together knew exactly how to take you from that point of the song to that point of the song, whether it was lyrically, arrangement, or, just the feel of the sentiment of what they were trying to achieve.
Do you ever get those moments, like there's a moment when Pavarotti hits that special note in Nessun Dorma.
Yeah. Or
and
sings.
I find myself wishing that everybody could feel the way I do at that particular moment. But,
and you've heard it a million times, but you wait for it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the note, right? That one note. Right?
A wee story I'd like to share, just to show the profound effect of music. I've been in sports dressing rooms and watched athletes get ready to go out and do their thing. But we were in Afghanistan together, and we all did different things, and I got taken into a car and on this little trip to another base. But on the way there, we picked up this young man, had a hoodie on and a whole bit, and it turned out he was, for want of a better term, an informer for our side, giving information to the Americans and the Canadians and allies. And when he became more comfortable, he spoke to me in English, and he talked about things that he would like to experience. And he talked about being able to dance and date a girl and drink Coca-Cola and listen to Led Zeppelin, which were all crimes that could have cost him his life. But they guided us to this rubble. A whole little town or city completely demolished. And they took me into the bowels of this rubble, and there was a family of mother and father and 2 kids, and they were baking bread. And I wanted to buy it, and they wouldn't let me buy it. They gave it to me. And I'll never forget when it was explained to them in their language that I was a musician. They all sang their own, and they sang for me in the rubble and in the depths of hell of what used to be their home, completely leveled. And the effect that had on me.
They must have asked you to sing as well. They must have asked you to sing as well. Did you sing as well?
I don't think I did.
Oh.
I don't think I did. But the other thing I noticed, what I did do, when we stepped outside, the 2 wee boys started kicking a soccer ball around.
Yeah, that's funny.
And I
Soccer
played,
universal.
I played,
Nice.
played football with them.
Yeah.
There's
But
an
that-
international language
That's how
there.
powerful music is.
Right. That's how powerful
The
it is.
international language that can take something and take it from that height to this height.
True.
Or just calm everybody.
How many times did we get greeted by fans that we couldn't speak to because of the language barrier? But,
Yeah.
okay, final. I'm going to try this.
You reminded me of when we were in Madrid or someplace like that.
We didn't think they were going to know us.
We didn't think we were going to go. And when
And
we
then
went
you
on,
see them
they
singing
loved. But
along, you go,
before
"Yeah,
they
whoa."
started, before we started, there was pockets
Yeah.
of people all over. I guess this stadium was just pockets of people singing songs, Beatles songs
Yeah.
over here, Stones songs, whatever. And they were all just singing. They loved their music. They just sing. You go, wow, what a great way to start a show.
And when we come out on stage,
Yeah.
they treated us like
Yeah.
family, and they sang and danced. And okay, I'm going to try. This is the last part. I'm going to try this. You tell. I'll go first because I'm the one thinking about it. I'm going to try and conjure up 2 wee funny road stories that I remember about both of you, and then we'll do the same. Stories that we can tell.
Okay.
Al Connelly, I remember you. We were in a bar in Ontario Place, and big bands were playing, and we always used to say, "One day we're going to do that," and then we did it. But something happened between you and the old drummer, Michael Hansen.
That's a classic.
And I'm talking to you, and I can't remember if we'd done the gig and we were leaving the stadium or whether we were on our way to the gig. And before I knew it, you and Hansen had fell out and you were fucking boxing. You were punching lumps out of each other in the bushes. Do you remember that?
Oh, of course I remember that. yeah, it was. My response to that is, well, we had a love-hate relationship, right? It's like, and Yeah, it was kind of funny because we had to play 3 or 4 nights there. And the next night my finger was kind of screwed there. And I was doing all these chords by, the Police, right? I'm trying to do all this Andy Summers stuff. I'm going, oh my God, it messes in the ball. Ow, ow, ow.
Yeah.
But we ended up in a rose bush, right? Scrapping in a rose bush. I was clawed by the rose thorns, all that, right? He was too, because he dropped the bag. It's like elbows up.
No,
Yeah.
had
He
we
dropped the
gigged
bag.
you, or were we on our way?
I think
On
we're
our way
done.
home.
Yeah,
From
we're
the
We were
done.
leaving
Yeah.
after the show.
Yeah.
And I was a bit sore in the hand the next day, and we both, shook hands the next day. It was like a friendly fight between two band members.
Couldn't it be worse than the Falcons' Nest when you threw his cymbals over?
Mr. Reid, one I remember about
He has
you.
this one locked
No,
up.
no, I hope you
Don't
let,
tell me it's the bus. I'm hugging the bus.
Yes.
Yeah, no. It's,
I want. Let me.
That's
set,
my party piece.
set it
Let me set it up.
Okay.
We're in Baltimore,
Yeah.
and the bus is parked, and I'm elsewhere, and the road manager comes to me like you've been arrested or you've been hit by a car. And he said, you gotta come, we're having problems with Sam, and I'm thinking, oh Jesus, Murphy, what's going on? And because I was like your older brother in those days, and they sent for me, and I'm thinking it's going to be a serious problem, and the whole problem was you had a few drinks
Steaming,
in you,
yeah. No,
you had
I'm
a couple
steaming.
of drinks in you,
Yeah.
and you'd fallen in love with the bus.
Well, the bus was cold. The bumper on the bus was nice. It was chrome.
And you're hugging the front of this bus and you're going,
Obviously, it wasn't running.
You're a good bus. You're a good bus. Do you remember
Well,
that?
bus is my home. Yeah, no, of course I do remember that. And of course we laughed about it. But I can remember probably I was delighted that I made it back to the bus. And I was kind of like.
And then you bugger. We got on the tour bus and you went into the
Well-
toilet and you fell asleep and none of us could get a pee.
Yeah, no, it's not a good thing to be steaming and get on a moving bus for 14 hours. So, not exactly my proudest moment,
Right. Do you
Okay,
remember?
Let me go.
he's
I'll
gonna
Oh,
go.
Connelly, what do you remember?
Okay, I'm going to start with you on this one, just
Okay.
because I thought it was really
I
funny.
love this.
We were in Germany, and I think we just finished a show at Crowded House, or we went to see a show at Crowded House. They were promoting, that's right. We're all in the same hotel. As we were leaving that morning, they were doing radio stuff in the lobby. And Sam had to back out, but I'll get to that in a second. He had to back out. And so Gabby, this lady that works for EMI, says, we're heading to Switzerland. Are they okay? I said, yeah, Sam's not going to make it, but Alan's going to make it. But you had your hat down low, and you had your eyes from the night before. Whatever happened, I don't know what it was. So, as we had left, I think Sam took some of these. Something you see in flower pots or like little kibbles. They look like little dog food. Put them in your pocket.
Cocoa
So,
Puffs.
anyways, Cocoa Puffs. You call them Cocoa Puffs. So we got to the airport, and of course, you went straight for a Heineken beer. And it's only 6:30 in the morning. She's going, is everything going to be? Everything's going to be all right. It's going to be fine. By the time we got to the other side, she goes, I think you might have to do all the interviews today because I'm not. So we put you down on one of these. There was the guys that were working at the airport.
The porters.
The porters had something with bags, and we had put you on for 1 second just to stay still while we got a few things at the counter at the airport. And we turned around, and the porter was taking you away. Now we had to get in here like this, and he's taking you away, and we had to follow you and grab you. And I said, "No, we can't." So we put you in a seat now. It's like taking care of a kid. Put him in a seat now, and as we turned around again, we looked around. We couldn't find you because this entire family of Indian people had come, and they had turbans and everything else on, and you had your cozy tea hat in there, and you were like this. We're going, "Where did he go?" And you had just like blended right into. There he is. So it was that. I ended up doing all the interviews.
What do you remember about Mr. Reid?
Well, it was him the night before.
Yeah.
You guys all came over. I never got to use my shower the next day. I think everybody used the washroom in the bathtub.
Oh,
I don't think anybody
we
used
peed
the
in your
toilet.
bathtub.
Yeah, and it was like just a mad. And Sam's going, he's falling all over the place. And I'm going, what are you going to do tomorrow? Oh, I'll figure that out. And
he did figure it out. He
yeah,
sent
he figured
you.
it out.
Yeah,
So all of
I
a sudden he
know.
sent me in. So
All
that
right.
was the part 2.
What do you remember about either Mr. Connelly or Mr. Frew?
Well, we have those moments, and I'm trying to think of what's a good story to relay? I mean, unfortunately, there's tons of drinking stories like that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to vary that topic a little bit.
What about him in London?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's another drinking story. Oh, of course. It's very few of these won't end as a drinking story, you know. That's just the way it's going to be. But yeah, I think that the fact that we're still doing it is remarkable.
Well, okay, go ahead. Just talk about that.
Well, I'm just saying, like, we've been able to navigate all of that craziness. And I remember us sitting there trying to figure out, we were obviously sitting at an airport and we were bored. What if we were to take every pint we've ever had and put them in a room? And we were trying to visualize how much space would that take up? How many warehouses would that fill?
What's a story you used to tell about me that doesn't include drinking, by the way?
Yes.
Wasn't there somebody quite famous? Was it Gage Park or something? And
Well, you do have this tendency. To, and let's call it concentration.
Right.
When you're really concentrating on something, you tend to block out everything else, and that could be a person. And I think it was Winnipeg, and I think it was a Red River X or something, and it was us and Charlie Farguson is another very famous Canadian, a celebrity. And Charlie was obviously in the event. Maybe he was doing he has that sort of, he was on Hee Haw. So he's doing that country bumpkin skit that he does. But anyways, he was coming down the hallway and you were just zoned out. You were just in the moment. Maybe you were thinking about the show or whatever. But Charlie he registered you because he's like, oh, there's Alan. And of course, because he's an actor, he decides he's going to put on his best Scottish impersonation and howdy Alan, yeah, whatever. And he did this whole routine for you, like off of Stratford Festival. And you just went right by him. And I was like, Alan, Charlie Farguson just did a whole Scottish thing for you. Oh, he did? What? Where?
It is. I mean, even some fans through the years might have said, oh, I waited to speak to you and you looked like you weren't interested. And it's only because if it's pre-show, I mean, my own family knows. If it's pre-show, it's all I think about.
No,
for sure.
And unfortunately, if that's the only person somebody gets to see you, that's their impression, and it's forever etched in stone.
Well, lads, thank you very much. It's been brilliant.
That's good. Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah.
We
need another 8 hours to get
you.
it
Let's
out.
have a
You're
toast.
right.
Let's have a toast.
All right.
We could talk for.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers. Cheers.
Thank you very much for joining me on Life Through Music.
Cheers.
There you have it. Don't forget them when they're gone. I hope you enjoyed the episode from Life Through Music. Thanks, Glass Tiger.